morning, everyone. You're welcome to our first online webinar. This promises to be exciting. We're glad that you have taken time to log on to our first webinar. I want to also say good morning to every woman out there. You know, we're celebrating women all through this week. And I think women should be celebrated every day. I want to celebrate your strength as we're forged through the challenges of life daily. I want to celebrate every woman that's chosen to grow stronger, mentally, physically, and emotionally, while we move forward with our heads high up and our undeniable strength. I want to say to every woman, we're warriors. I once read a saying that says that a woman is like a tea bag. When you put her in hot water, you now see the true color. You know that she grows stronger daily. And that's who we are. We go stronger. The pressures of life is just to make us happy. It doesn't break us. And I want to say good morning to all the men that are logged in as well. You know, I can't imagine a world without men. Your support, you've been like a pillar to an average woman. And for every man that's logged in to learn about fibroid, to learn about the causes, what it is, why people have to go through hell and endure so many things, I'll say thank you. Because I know that even if you don't go through the pain, you have decided to log on so that you can show empathy and show some level of understanding. So thank you for logging on. I'm Aditya Alabi. I'm the boss lady of Wellness Healthcare Group. Wellness has been ensuring the total well-being of our customers and clients are well taken care of by unrivaled and innovative access to quality pharmaceutical care and products and services. We also, that's through our wellness chain and through our health insurance division, we have been able to provide access to affordable quality healthcare to our people, through our professionalism and responsive services. One of the ways we have chosen to improve the well-being of the people is also to bring to you this seminar, this awareness program, to look at some of the things that really affect women, affect us as a people, and see what we can do to prevent the pain or to increase our disposition and our empathy towards this. So that is why we're bringing this to you. Of course, we're looking at having people together and you do a health conference. But COVID-19 and its impact have shown us that with technology, we can be closer than ever, and we can do whatever we can do. So thank you everyone for logging in. There are going to be opportunities for us to ask the questions. Please go to the chat button and ask your questions. There are people that will make sure that those questions get to us and we're able to answer those questions appropriately. I'm not going to do this alone. I'm going to do this with someone that has a passion for women. He has been taking care of women all his life. I'm talking about Dr. Alabi Olajuwon. Dr. Alabi Olajuwon when I say he's not just a doctor. Some of us always say here O&G doctor. So I'm going to tell you that Dr. Alabi is not just an obstetrician and gynecologist. Dr. Alabi, he finished from also. I'm saying shout out to every also out there. Hi. Hello, right? Yeah. When you finish from also, there's something that also builds in you, also builds some kind of resilience. You can survive anywhere. I'm telling you. And also it is like a tea bag as well. There's no way they get to. Under pressure, they still flourish. So Dr. Alabi Olajuwon is the CEO and medical director of South Shore Women's and Children's Hospital. He's a specialist obstetrician and gynecologist and a member of Royal College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, United Kingdom. He graduated from Alabi Onabanjo University and alumnus of USU, and he completed his postgraduate training in obstetrician and gynecology in Northwestern Deanery, Manchester, UK. He's an expert in advanced gynecology, endoscopy surgery, minimally invasive surgery, and is currently serving as the Vice President of Association of Gynecology Endoscopic Surgeons of Nigeria. He's also the founder of Fibroid Support Nigeria. So this is like a calling to him. And that's why we brought him up here, so that he can share his experiences with us and we can draw from his wealth of knowledge on how to take care of ourselves and how every woman out there, I don't know whether it could be preventive. It's going to tell us if we can prevent it. It's going to tell us if we can stop the growth of fibroid and all that, and how we can manage the pains, if there are pains at all. His other areas of expertise include infertility, assisted reproductive techniques. I'll tell you, we're talking about infertility when I met Dr. Alabi 2 years ago, and I asked Dr. Alabi, and I said, Dr. Alabi, I want to donate my eggs. And he said, how old are you? I said, oh, I'm 40 plus. He said, no, your eggs are not viable. I said, what? What do you mean my eggs are not viable? You know, I was initially angry. I was like, why is it so blunt? How can you just tell someone that your eggs are not viable? And he just told me off like that. Oh no, madam, your eggs are not viable. I'm like, seriously, what makes an egg viable? What's the and I started questioning and questioning, and I know he would just wondering, what else would this woman want? So Dr. Alabi has talked with me for another one now, interrogating you on women's health. So he is an expert. His expertise include infertility, assisted reproductive techniques, endometriosis, high-risk pregnancy care, and recurrent miscarriage. These are his expertise. You can check him out, and you can visit the hospital as well. If you have anyone or anybody, or even if you're the one going through all this and you need help. And I know that Dr. Alabi, you come in really, really, really recommended. Everybody that knows you down my platform have said, wow, you got him out. That guy is good. So I'm not saying this because it's on the platform. I'm saying this because that is the testimony I have from people. So Dr. Alabi, thank you very much for honoring us. Thank you for coming on board.
Yeah,
and I also want to thank the audience. Thank you for being quick at joining us. You know, I also want to remind you to send the link to your friends and family so that you're not just the only one hearing this. Everybody needs to know this. Everybody needs to hear this. Everybody needs to know what it takes to take care of people that has fibroids, and also how to manage ourselves. So thank you very much for joining us. Remember that you can always ask questions as we go on. So Dr. Alabi, over to you. Dr. Alabi, what are fibroids? What are fibroids? I'll ask the questions together. And what are fibroids? Are fibroids the same thing as endometriosis? What are the difference? And you're also going to tell me what are the causes of fibroids? Those are the 3-in-1 questions.
Okay, all right. So I'll start with what are fibroids. Fibroids are like growths in the wall of the womb. So there are abnormal growths in the wall of the womb. The wall of the womb is called myometrium. And fibroids are like growths in them. So the question is that why do you have growths in the womb? Just the same way we have growths anywhere. I mean, if people, I'm sure a lot of people will see people with skin tags. They have like tags on their hand and stuff like that. So growths are like that. Why do growths form? Now, every part of our body have signals that, so for example, all our cells are programmed to die and reproduce. So once in a while, there's a failure of the signal in a particular part of our body. So for example, fibroids. So the wall of the womb is meant to replicate, but there's a failure in the signal so that instead of, I'll use figures, instead of saying that normal is 10, it needs to reproduce to 10. On that particular area, let's say it goes to 1 million reproduction. So lot of cells form and form a mass. So that's the easy way to describe what happens. The question is that why does that happen? Now, that's $1 million question. I usually say this, that only if anybody can find the reason why fibroids happen, then the person will definitely be a billionaire, because up till now, despite all the research, we don't know why fibroids happen. All we know is that it's commoner in Black people. Not that it doesn't form in white people, but it means that it's just commoner. I mean, when I was in England, I was part of the team that treated a lot of white people with fibroid. But just that the incidence is a lot higher in Black Africans, especially. Now, what's the difference between fibroid and endometriosis? While fibroid is the growth in the wall of the womb, there's something called endometrium. Endometrium is the lining of the womb. So every time you have a period, so your womb is getting ready for pregnancy. So it forms something called endometrium, and the endometrium builds up. If pregnancy doesn't happen, you shed it. That means you pass it out as your period. And then another one starts. So endometrium is designed to hold pregnancy. And if the pregnancy doesn't happen, you shed it. One way or the other, that endometrium finds its way inside the tummy, not in the wall anymore. The wall is the womb, is confined, it comes out. But it finds its way inside the tummy. So that's outside the womb. And because it's there, it attaches to different structures. It can attach to the bowel, the bladder, everything. And the same hormones that work on the lining of the womb works on it. So it keeps growing. Basically, it means that somebody can be having their period inside their tummy. Sometimes even the lungs. There are people that bleed, they have cough every month around their period and blood comes out. It means that the endometrium has found its way into their lungs, and then they have monthly cough period. So that's what endometriosis is. Fibroid can be severe, but endometriosis, in my opinion, I think endometriosis is a bit more, it's a worse disease to have than fibroids. A few years ago, they used to think Black people don't have endometriosis, but we know that that's not true now. But let's come back to fibroid. This is the reason we're here. So fibroid, if I summarize, it's a tumor. It's a growth in the womb. It's not cancerous. It's not cancer. It's just a growth. It's a benign growth. Benign means non-cancer. We don't know the cause yet, but we know that it's very common in Black people, especially around people that are in the reproductive age group. That's about 18 to about 45. It's very common in that age group. Okay, I hope I've answered the questions.
Thank you, Dr. Alabi. And I know our audience have had that nobody knows the causes of fibroid. So for everyone that was going to tell you to take ginger and garlic to prevent fibroid, as I know someone that the mom actually told her to take ginger and garlic, grind it together and be taking it so that she wouldn't have fibroid. Nobody knows the causes of fibroid. And therefore you don't need to begin to harm yourself and take all kinds of things because you want to prevent the fibroid. He has also answered the question that fibroid is not cancerous. It's an abnormal growth, quite all right, that grows in the wall of the womb, and therefore he said emphatically that it's not cancerous. It's a growth, but it's not cancerous. So that has also alleviated some of the fear and some of the questions that some of us have, sent to us, that cancer is not cancerous, but of course it's a growth in the walls of the stomach. I don't want to concentrate so much on the endometriosis because it sounds scary. I'm telling you, it's quite scary. So maybe we'll keep that for a future, for sometimes in the future. And for anyone, if anyone is on this audience that goes through his menstrual period and coughs blood, that's scary. I think you need to have an appointment with Dr. Alabi for that. So let's concentrate on fibroids. So fibroid is an abnormal growth. So he has also said that anybody that discovers the causes will be a billionaire, or not a billionaire in the dollars. I think it should be in the dollars.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we can all go on research now and on the research to look at and what causes this. Remember, he said something as well that is not as common in white than as it is in Black. So that means as Black people, we need to now take the course to know what causes cancer into our hands. The Igbo man is not going to solve this for us, and I think that's why the causes is being delayed. I think for every woman out there, this is a challenge to us, challenge the causes of cancer. So thank you, Dr. Alabi. Thank you. Let me ask my second question. You said that it starts from the reproductive age to the age of 45. I want to answer. I also ask this: does it mean that when someone is in his menopause, has reached menopause, that person does not need to worry about fibroid again? And for people that are in their reproductive age, I know we don't know the causes. Is there anything that can be done to prevent this growth?
Okay. So the first question is that, so fibroid is a hormone-dependent tumor. That means it feeds on hormone. And when you get to menopause means, so most people achieve menopause about 50, 51. And when they get to menopause, their ovaries stop producing hormone. And when it stops producing hormone, it means that a lot of the structure that are dependent on hormone go to sleep. So fibroid is a hormone-dependent tumor. So it means that even if you have fibroid and you get to menopause, then your fibroid will not grow bigger anymore and probably might shrink slightly as well. Now, most of the symptoms from fibroid are due to pressure symptoms because of enlargement, heavy bleeding, your tummy being big, compressing on your bladder so that you're going to the bathroom all the time, compressing on your bowel so you're constipated, feeling heavy. So all of it are issue with growth. So meaning that as a menopausal person, it's been there. It's not, you're not going to have new fibroid when you're menopause. The fibroid has always been there, but it's likely not to grow bigger. Now, so another thing I need to now mention is that if you're menopausal and your fibroid is growing bigger, then you need to go to the doctor ASAP, like as in now, not tomorrow. Because although I said fibroids are not cancer, in the menopausal women, in older women, sometimes it can change into something else, which is quite dangerous. And that is called, it's something called fibrolioma sarcoma, which is a form of cancer. But now I need to be, so I don't want to contradict myself because I originally said fibroid is not cancer. It's not cancer. But in older women, the fibroid can change to cancer. So I think we need to understand that not everybody's fibroid can become cancerous, but sometime now there's still a lot of debates whether that change, whether it's the fibroid or that's another process totally. But it just means that the ones that I have seen, they're usually older women, very older women. And they just notice that their fibroid, which is meant to go quiet with age, is growing bigger and causing a lot of pain. So I think that's that particular. Now you asked another question. You asked a second question.
How can it be prevented, even though we don't have a cause? Are there preventive measures?
No, you cannot prevent fibroid. So fibroid is, if you're going to have it, you're going to have it. That's the bottom line. I think in my opinion, there are different variety of fibroids. There are some women will just have one or two, but there are some people that are extremely endemic with it. I mean, the most I've removed is 150.
Wow.
Yeah, so in people like that,
seeds?
150 seedlings of fibroid, yes. Yeah, so that's what we call the womb is riddled with fibroid. Now, I've removed 100 before, I've removed 50 many times. So there are two different groups. The people that you remove one or two, their fibers might not come back. The people that are removing 100, above 30, they're likely to have a repeat fibroid. I mean, there was a woman I was operating on this week. It's her third surgery. So when she was younger, she's had a few surgeries somewhere else. So she came to us still wanting to have children. She's about 40 something, 48 or 49. And she still wants to go for IVF. So they found a fibroid. And, you know, so it cannot be prevented and it can recur even if you remove it. It's important that people know that.
Thank you, Dr. Alabi. I want to say thank you very much because you said something now that if someone is not in the reproductive age, for older women that might have fibroid, it's better they check it out immediately because it can become cancerous. That means there might be mutation of the cells. The cells
absolutely.
can just change its form and now begin to grow. And so for women that are in their menopausal age, if they happen to have fibroid, they need to go and see the doctor ASAP. You even said immediately, like now. So thank you for that. And the fact that we cannot prevent it.
Yeah, especially if it's causing them problem. If it's getting bigger, they notice it's getting bigger. I mean, there's nothing wrong having a yearly check on it because if you pick things early, you can quickly treat it.
Okay, so we can actually do checkup for fibroid.
Yes. Yeah.
So can you tell us what are the checkup an average woman should do to check for fibroid?
Okay, so I think one of the major issue in Nigeria is that we believe that what you don't know doesn't kill you. That's our default, but that's not true, because what you know you have can be managed very quickly. I think that's the way, and that probably fit into your wellness processes, that find out what's wrong with you so that you can manage it. So for people, I will probably, so a lot of us, unlike other countries, in maybe England or in US, they have family physicians, they have GPs. So very quickly, if somebody's having issue, they would have addressed it. For example, if a young woman starts having heavy period or having painful period,
okay,
at least
Dr. Abi, hold on. Maybe you should tell us the signs and symptoms that anybody that has fibroid will know, so that that can also ginger us to say, okay, since I'm having these symptoms, let me go and check and confirm if it is fibroid.
Okay. There are two commonest reasons. So the first one is heavy bleeding. You normally have heavy flow, or you notice that your period is changing, and you used to probably you finish your period in 2 days, it's become 3-4 days. Also, the number of pads that you're using has increased, or you're passing clots, like clumps, like clumps of blood, you're passing it. Then I advise you to get a scan. Excuse me. If you're having pain during your period, I will advise you to get a scan as well. Or you've been married for a while and pregnancy is not happening, please get a scan. If you notice that there's a recent bulge in your tummy, you just notice that your tummy is getting bigger somehow, it's not food, please get a scan. It's because most people think I'm getting fat. And I mean, one of the fibroids I removed this week is almost like a 9 months size woman, and the weight was 3.8 kilogram.
Wow.
So can you imagine how long that has been? So that's why, people say, oh, I was pregnant for 5 years until God did it and I delivered a baby. So that's that. And going to the bathroom, whether it allows you, so you go to the bathroom very frequently to wee, and then you're constipated, like I said, and then you have this heavy period. Now, some people, the first time they know is that they just collapse at work because they've been having heavy periods and not taking precaution. So it gets to a point. I mean, there was somebody we saw that their blood was half the normal limit. So if I just mention it, it was like 5. Their hemoglobin was like 5, something you will call PCV of 15. So those people, they would just come to work one day and collapse, and then they take them to hospital. They notice that their blood is low, and then they start from, why is my blood low? So the first thing I would advise women to do is, irrespective of whether you are married, single, or whatever, I think you need to key into having checks. Maybe once every year, maybe once every 2 years, get a pelvic scan, pelvic and abdominal scan. Now, secondly, in my practice, we use a lot of MRI for fibroids when we want to treat it. So the first thing is that we do pelvic scan, and then when we want to quantify or know the type of fibroid you have, then we request for MRI. MRI is that big machine. If you watch ER, I mean, for non-medical people, if you watch any medical program, that big one that people go in and stay in, that round thing. So we use a lot of that because that shows fibroid a lot more clearer than pelvic scan, a lot more clearer. And it also tells you the type of fibroid and how to remove it if you want to remove it as well. There are different ways to remove fibroid. So I think I've answered that. I've answered the question about the symptoms.
Yes. Oh, thank you, Dr. Alabi. So for everyone out there, somebody is requesting that we should make sure this session is recorded. It's going to be recorded and it's going to be on our YouTube page. So we want you to subscribe to our YouTube page too, so that when we upload it, you should be the first set of people to view it and listen to it all over again. It's recorded and you can listen to it over and over again. So thank you, Dr. Alabi. For every woman out there, Dr. Alabi is advising us to try as much as we can to go through and to do at least pelvic and abdominal scan every year, because nobody knows the causes of fibroid now. We all know that it's going to be like a growth, and it's a growth in the walls of the stomach of the womb. But I said that there's some people that you can begin to suspect that you have fibroid. Those are people that have heavy bleeding or prolonged bleeding. When you have clumps of blood in your sanitary pad during your period, when you have pains during your menstrual period, and when you are not having when pregnancy is not coming on time. So you have also affirmed that that position, because the last time I was in the market buying fish, a woman was discussing with another woman and saying that this woman has been married for 5 years and she doesn't have a baby. So the woman selling fish said that maybe she should go and check for fibroid. So even that means that even an average woman out there also knows that fibroid can actually delay pregnancy. This does not mean that it's only fibroid that delays pregnancy, but there are other people that can delay pregnancy. There are the other things that can delay pregnancy is fibroid. Then when you notice that you have a bulgy tummy, this bulgy tummy can actually be don't say, he said you shouldn't say that you're growing fat or you have enough it's food, that when you have a bulgy tummy and it's unusual, you should see the doctor. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Alabi. You've answered a whole lot of questions, and now we know that even though we don't know the causes, we can checkmate the fibroid. We can checkmate it as much as we can. Another question that somebody asked on this is that why is it that the people that go through the people that go through IVF eventually have the people that go through fibroid, the people that go through IVF eventually have fibroid? Why is it that we have that?
Okay, so I think if I remember, I'm not sure. Something just came to me that, did I mention that fibroids can cause fertility as well? Infertility. Yes.
Yes, you said so.
Okay, so now, so there's a group of people that are trying to get pregnant. So it's a concentrated group. So it's not the fibroid, it's not the IVF that caused the fibroid. They already have fibroid. But because they are in the IVF group, it gets pronounced. I don't know whether that makes sense.
Okay.
Because it's a very concentrated group. So they will have high numbers of fibroid in them, because fibroid is one of the most commonest cause of fertility issues in this part of the world. So, it's not yes, IVF can make it bigger, because remember I told you that fibroid is hormone dependent. And if you're giving a lot of people hormonal drug during IVF, then the fibroid can get bigger. But it's not the fertility drug that caused the fibroid. I think that's important.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Alabi. So it's not the IVF that causes the fibroid, but because anybody then fibroid actually feeds on our hormones. And for everybody that is undergoing IVF, there is a tendency that you have more hormones being pumped into your body than an average person. And that could actually increase, because it seems that sometimes there's those siblings that needs to be checkmated sometimes before the IVF. So it's not the IVF and the drugs that are causing it. The fibroid might have been there. So thank you, Dr. Alabi. How about those people? There are some women that do not enjoy sex in their marriage, and they said that it's fibroid that is causing it. Can you help us with this myth? We said we are going to look at the facts and the myths. So does fibroid affect women during sex, during lovemaking, and does not allow them to enjoy sex?
No, fibroid is not related to, endometriosis can cause pain during sex, but fibroid doesn't usually affect. So if you have 100 people come to the clinic complaining about fibroid, I can't even remember when any of my patients complain that they have problems with sex. from fibroid. Now, but it depends on the type of fibroid, because some people can have a fibroid that comes down from inside their womb and block the vagina. So when it blocks the vagina, then yes, it can make sex either difficult or uncomfortable. But generally, fibroid does not affect sex.
Okay, thank you. I think the audience have had that. But so
Yeah.
what you're saying is it depends on the positioning of the fibroid as well.
Yes.
The positioning of the fibroid could actually cause pain. So we cannot just disregard that person's assertion. We could just find out where the position of the fibroid is, and that might be the reason why. Another question that we have is fibroid hereditary? If a mom has fibroid, is it likely that the daughter has, or is it likely that the granddaughter also go through the same pain? And if it's hereditary, if it's hereditary or it's not hereditary, we want to also know what are the other illnesses that fibroid can cause, apart from the fact that it could delay pregnancy from coming. What are the other illnesses that fibroid can cause?
So the first thing is that yes, fibroid can be hereditary, not all the time, but yes, in some family fibroid is hereditary. So but in some family, I mean, like, the genetic issue, they can skip. So grandmother can have it and then it skip the mom and then come back to the daughter, So, but yes, fibroid is hereditary. So I think let's put that. Now, what are the other symptoms? Now, remember that fibroid is a tumor. It's a massive tumor. So sometimes it can compress on your kidneys and then it can cause kidney failure.
Wow.
Especially the very big one. It can cause damage to the kidney and then kidney failure.
Wow.
So now I did mention about anemia. If you have chronic anemia, you can have heart failure as well from that. So in as much as it's a benign condition, if it's not managed properly, it can cause devastating effects in terms of your kidneys and your heart. Okay.
Well, thank you, Dr. Alabi. So that will lead me to the next question, because now you've told us that fibroid can actually cause other illnesses, and the ready illnesses that comes to heart is the fact that if it's compressing on the kidney, depending on the size, the person can have kidney failure. And of course, because some of the symptoms is losing of blood, that is heavy bleeding, that person can become anemic. And when there's no blood flowing through an average human's heart, the heart can actually fail. So what are the treatment options? I know that some people say, like it's a general knowledge, it's on the street, that there are some herbs that people can take to melt. Yes, that's what it is, to melt your fibroid. That's what they say. So you see people going to the to those women that sell herbs, that sell agbo. Yes, let me just put it the way it is. In this part of the country, it's called agbo. And I know a woman that says "Tobatiki agbo yen for me," so that when those women, put those concussions together and they give to her, that it will melt the fibroid. So tell us the treatment options. Everybody knows that surgery is number one, and I think because people are also afraid of surgery, except in the north. And when there's surgery, they just go ahead. Like in the south, when there's surgery, you'll have to tell the pastor, you tell friends and family to pray with you and all that. Then the northerners, I don't know whether it's the belief system or not, but I see that they don't have that fear. So a woman comes in and you say the child will need surgery, you say go ahead. But in the south, I've said in the south too, they'll say, no, let me go and call the father. I need to call the grandfather and call the grandmother. We need to call the church and the pastor. So I don't know if it's the fear of surgery, but please tell us if the other treatment options apart from surgery, because I know that even though people know that surgery is a way out, I think a lot of people are scared of surgery, and so we begin to use other things. So please tell us the treatment options for fibroid and how effective they are.
Okay, well, thank you very much, because you've raised a very valid point in this part of the world. So let's start with the traditional belief. There are a lot of people that are extremely scared of surgery, and then they look for different other options. Now, one of the things about this part of the world is that it's not well regulated. So everybody can do anything. I mean, let me tell you a story. So a few years ago, I saw somebody who advertised in one of the national paper saying that I can melt fibroid without surgery. So I just came back from England then. I think then I was I just came back. And I wanted to find out more. So the number the guy put there, so I called the guy and said, okay, hello, sir. My wife has fibroid. How do you melt it? The guy first said, I'm in the bus. When I get out of the bus, I will call you. So I knew from there that this is...
One chance. That's one chance.
Yeah, but there's a lot of one chance. We also have people that... Okay, let me give you another example. So I saw this 30-something-year-old woman who is about to get married. 2 or 3 years before that, her friend took her to somewhere, which is a local place, and they said that they can melt her fibroid. So they inserted some stuff in her vagina. And then that burns her vagina, and her vagina closed together.
Wow.
Completely, as in there was nowhere. So it closed because it was caustic. It destroyed her. So now she's about to get married. She's been claiming to her that she's a virgin. That's why she can't have intercourse. But now when they get married, so we had to be looking on how to create a vagina. Now, there are people that go and have herbs, and then the herbs damage their kidneys as well. And they keep having... There was a particular lady who recently died, maybe not recently, about a year ago, a well-known woman who died in one of the hospitals in Victoria Island. And basically, she has fibroid and was given herbs to drink, and that damaged her kidney. So the first thing is that, please, whatever you want to use in life, make sure that it's been researched. And you can... everybody's belief is different. I cannot tell you that traditional, this doesn't work. What I can I'm a scientist. I read science. Science means that if you add 1 and 2, it's 3, nothing more. So there's no magic about it. So if you cannot prove that to me, then it's difficult for you to tell me that this works. And that's one of the things. And there's so many people. I mean, there's another one who was told that, oh, you don't need to remove fibroid. We just do something from your vagina. And apparently there's a center somewhere in Lagos that she was telling me that the queue in the place was huge. So the guy takes them somewhere and he shows them, oh, I'm removing the fibroid, and he's showing them something. But when they come back to us, we show them the fibroid that they didn't remove anything. This is your fibroid. So I'm not saying that you cannot approach traditional medicine people, but please get your facts right. So now it takes me back to what are the treatment options for fibroid. The first thing is that a lot of people have fibroid and it doesn't affect them. If it doesn't affect you, you don't need to remove it So when I said it doesn't affect you, it means it's not big, it's not making you have a heavy period. So what you need to do is maybe keep an eye on it, and you're not trying to conceive. So have regular scans, maybe every year. So what you're doing is that you're comparing year 1 to year 2, year 3. So if somebody advised you not to remove it now, it doesn't mean that the advice in 2 years is the same. So what we see is that we see people that, oh, my doctor said I should not remove it. And when they come back, it's now massive. So it cannot jump from don't remove it to massive. If you don't keep an eye on it, that's what happened. Now, there's a difficulty in treating big fibroids. So do not let your fibroids get to that level. I mean, I know that I get so many inquiries from America. I was shown a lot of videos. Oh, doctor, I went to a doctor and they offered to remove my womb. And they send the picture and you're looking, how can they tell you they want to remove your womb with this small fibroid? So removing fibroids is an option, not for everybody, people that it affects, people that are trying to get pregnant, people that have severe heavy periods, people that have pain, people that have gone through pain with fibroid in their pregnancy, severe pain that needed admission all the time, people that their fibroid is compressing their kidney, almost damaging it. So you have to select who you treat. But There are a lot of people that have fibroid and they don't have to remove it as well. I think I need to put that. Now, as technology is advancing, so is treatment advancing as well. So myomectomy, which is the cut on your tummy to remove fibroid, used to be the traditional surgery. But since about 40 years ago, there are newer types of surgery you can do. I mean, for example, in South Shore, most of our surgeries, we don't cut people open. We use techniques, we use technology to remove fibroid. There's also something called fibroid embolization, where you shrink fibroid without removing it. Yes, sometimes you have to be careful, especially people that still want to have children. Might not necessarily be an option, but that, you don't need to have surgery. You block the blood supply to the fibroids, and the fibroids die off eventually. And there are so many techniques that can be used now without cutting open. You understand what I mean? Now, drugs. You can shrink fibroid with drugs, but it is not permanent. When you use it, the drug does not let you get pregnant. When you come off the drug, trying to get pregnant, the fibroids will grow back, and sometimes even bigger than when you started it. So it's not something I routinely encourage. But at the same time, if you have heavy flow and you have fibroid and you don't want to remove it, there's so many medications you can use to reduce the heavy flow. But remember, until you remove the fibroid or do something about the fibroid, you probably will still continue to have heavy flow. So fibroid treatment is based on how it affects you. It's also based on the size and the type of fibroid you have. There are many techniques that have been designed every year that can treat fibroid without cutting you or having surgery. There's so many other options you can have, but the main thing is that the traditional, or I'll say the gold standard to managing fibroid is removing it. That's the gold standard. But you can now look for other options if you don't want that.
Thank you, Dr. Alabi, and thank you very much for this. So for everyone hearing us out there, please, before you go to anyone that wants to help you melt the fibroid or do all kinds of give you all kinds of concussion, I'm a pharmacist, so I know about herbs. I take moringa tea, I take moringa seed, but I don't take anything if I've not seen works that have been done on those things. So if anybody is giving you anything and you also are aware that nothing has been done and it's just a matter of essay that you are visiting those people, this is also to tell us to be careful, especially because everything you take into your body actually goes through your internal organs. Your kidney processes, your liver processes, and you don't want to take anything that will create a worse situation than you started. So he has given us some options. He has told us some drugs. We're not going to tell you drugs that can do it now, except to see a doctor, because we know that we love to self-medicate in this part of the world. Yes, we love to self-medicate. So we're not going to tell you these drugs or these drugs, but he says something categorically that the size of the fibroid and the symptoms that you're going through also help to know the kind of treatment options that will be good for you. And for everyone out there that you've been told that the fibroid, I know that sometimes they tell people that the fibroid is okay, that the person shouldn't operate on it right now. He said we should keep a close watch on the fibroid. That is by going through, by doing routine pelvic scan and abdominal scan to know the size. So you can also keep the record. What's the diameter now? So what's the size now? They said it's 2 diameter, 2 meter, or no, it can't be 2 meter, 2 mm. And you go back again and say 4 mm, you also are aware that this thing is growing. And you're also checking the level of discomfort that you're having as a result of the growth of the fibroid. That can also help us to treat it. I'm seeing a lot of questions and it's saying, can you quantify heavy flow? As a woman, you can quantify heavy flow from the time you started your period. If you started your period and you're using two sanitary pads, and now you have to use 5, you already know that the flow has increased. So that's how you can quantify heavy flow. Can fibroid get cancerous? Yes, fibroid is not cancerous. But for older women, he has said it that cancer and fibroid could be cancerous for older women. And so for older women, and when we mean older women, we mean people that that are both that are in their menopausal age. If they have fibroid, they have to go and see the doctor ASAP. Is it possible to live with fibroid? Yes, you can live with fibroid. You can live with fibroid because if it's not giving you pains, it's not stressing you, you are fine, you can live with it. But for the moment, for as long as the fibroid is causing pain, you need to get someone to check it. So doctor, some people are asking these questions. Can fibroid be removed during pregnancy, or should someone wait during maybe the cesarean session to remove the fibroid? That means you're pregnant, they cut you open, bring the fibroid out. I guess if the fibroid is actually disturbing the baby, I'll tell you that we had a bat one of our staffs had a baby during the week. She was bedridden for 6 months because the size of the fibroid and the baby, they were competing with themselves. So I think you should shed light on this. That is this possible? Of course, you've also told us that fibroid feeds on our hormones, and during pregnancy too, there is increased hormones in the body. And so she had to be, I think she had to wait till the end of her term for the fibroid. She showed me the picture of the fibroid. I was, let me put it, I was like, Jesus Christ. And you know, the baby couldn't come back naturally because the fibroid had blocked up cervix. So they had to remove the cervix and they had to cut her open so that they can bring the baby. The baby was high up, the fibroid was down. So they were actually competing. She was in bed. She was in bed for 6 months. So this question, I think you need to tell us again. Can it be removed during C-section, which was what we did for her? But I need you to tell us. And when a woman is pregnant and the fibroid is actually causing a lot of pains, can we bring the woman to the theater, remove the fibroid, and let her, continue to nurse the baby in her tummy? Thank you very much, Dr. Alabi.
Okay, so the first thing is that's a discussion that generates a lot of traffic when it's discussed in a forum with doctors. The general advice is that don't remove fibroid during pregnancy. That's the general advice, okay? But there are isolated cases where you can justify it. So I'll tell you, fibroid has a blood supply. So remember that the womb is small when you are at the early phase, and then when it becomes big, the fibroid grows with it, and the blood supply to the fibroid increases as well. So if you remove fibroid during CS, there's a huge chance that that the woman will bleed a lot, a big chance. So that's why a lot of doctors will say, don't touch it when they are pregnant or when you're doing CS, just leave it. Now, the caveat though is that if it's blocking your way and you can't get to the baby, then it's a must for you to remove it. So it means that you will have consented the person that, right, I'm going to remove this fibroid, I'm going to get to the baby. If the fibroid prevents it, we can't stop the bleeding, we may have to remove your womb after, so many things. So it's not straightforward. It's not something that I would routinely encourage. But also for this part of the world as well, there's a financial implication to doing surgery. So somebody will look at it and say, you know what, instead of me paying for 5 CS and then come back a few months later, a few years later to do fibroid surgery, why can't I combine the two? But it's all about risk assessment. It's not something that I will routinely do. It's not something that I would advise. But the only situation I will do it is if it's blocking my way to get to the baby. But apart from that, I will not recommend it at all because it's a dangerous surgery.
Thank you, Dr. Alabi. So it has to do with risk assessment. The doctor will have to look at it. What are we saving here? The baby, the mother, or just yanking off those fibroids? So it has to do with risk assessment. So whoever is going to be asking for this will also have been, I think the doctor would have told the person that this is the risk that is attached to this, and we'll go on and see what we can be done. So I think we've answered the questions. Are there habits, doctor, are there healthy habits that an average woman should, start to reduce or prevent fibroid? We already know we don't know the causes, and you said it's not preventable. But if someone has fibroid, are there foods that you shouldn't eat, drugs that you shouldn't take, or things, maybe like someone that has fibroid now is not affecting the person and the person has to do contraceptives? Are there things that increases the impact of fibroid? You know, the person is not having pain, it's quite all right. Are there habits, contraception, food, exercise? Are there things that we can do to ensure that the fibroid is kept in its place and not allowed to flourish?
Okay, well, the first thing is that I have seen a lot of patients come to me and say that they Google food that can be eaten when you have fibroid. So there are some food that they are called estrogenized food. That means they have a tendency to produce hormone or be converted to hormone and then make you. So they always say that when they reduce those, or when they go with that food plan and reduce those food, they notice that the pressure they have from the fibroid reduces. Now, I don't know whether that is psychological because it's not been proven. I personally, this is not research. Personally, I think some of our food encourage the growth of fibroid. That's personally. And I think that maybe the starchy food, maybe things like yam, gari, I don't know about gari, maybe rice. But I think that I cannot tell you to stop it. I can tell you that maybe we need to start looking at reducing the volume of it, maybe even red meat. But if you Google estrogenized food or food that can affect the size of fibroid, you might see some. Now, healthy habits means eating balanced diets, exercising, don't smoke. I won't say don't drink because some wines are healthy. Don't drink excessively. Drink a lot of water. I think those things will always apply to any health condition. But the main one that I think we probably need to be looking at is, why is fibroid so large in this part of the world? Why is it something we eat? Is it our gene? Yes, it can be, because I remember a few years ago, they identified one of the genes that make people have fibroid in the United States. Maybe in the future, there will be gene therapy. So as a child, you go through a gene therapy, a gene isolation. Do I have a fibroid gene? Yes, you have a fibroid gene. Okay, can you give me a gene therapy to prevent that? That's the future. You know, everything about gene therapy will come in the future. So, but for now, I think that eat well, balanced diet. One of the major hormonal food is yam. Yam is very, very, that's why, you know, some part of the Yoruba land, there are some villages that when they eat a lot of yam, they have twins.
Twins, Ibora.
Now, whether is the yam or whether is the gene of the people but it's well known that they eat a lot of yam. And yam contains a lot of a drug called FSH. FSH causes a lot of, it stimulates the body to produce estrogen. So maybe there's something in the food. Now, science have not proven that as well. But that's my personal belief. I believe that there's something in our food that maybe encourage the growth. Because the manner, apart from the fact that people hide their fibroid, they don't go to hospital early, sometimes the growth, the size, I mean, I've removed a 7-kilogram fibroid before.
Jesus.
So that's the size of 2 babies in one woman, and it's one single fibroid. So that's what we're talking about, you know? So.
Thank you, Dr. Alabi. Thank you. For the person that asked the question and for every other person, I think when we watch what we eat too, we become what we eat really. Every one of us become what we eat. And if you have fibroid, then you should take more caution in what you eat. And he actually said we should balance that diet. The proofs on whether the food causes it or not might not have been established, but we can also go ahead and check out those foods and what they contain and see how we can, you know, reduce the growth. whether it works psychologically or it works physically, the feeling of well-being and the feeling of goodness is also good for every one of us. So we can actually embark on the journey and see how we can reduce our intake of those meals. We might not be able to stop, but we can reduce it so that we can live longer and live better. So consider eating balanced diet, consider not smoking, consider not drinking heavily, and consider, exercise as part of the things that can help you live the healthy life that you want, and can also reduce the growth of fibroid. Right? There's another question here that someone has. Does fibroid affect the cognitive ability or the psychomotor activity of a child? The fibroid grows with the child. Does it have any impact on the child as the child grows up? Please, Dr. Alabi, can you help us with that?
Well, the first answer is no, it doesn't. The second answer is that if your fibroid make you go into preterm labor and you deliver a preterm baby, then the answer is yes. But if the baby is term, no, it doesn't. It doesn't. They're just neighbors. There's fibroid. They are tenants together in the womb. So one is there temporary. One is a long-staying tenant.
Wow. One is the landlord.
One is the landlord. So no, it doesn't. They're just now. Unfortunately, sometimes you have a lot of. So the fibroid is there and he's invited his cousin, his uncle, and everybody to come out, and that's when it starts causing problem for the baby, squeezing the baby, pushing the baby out a lot earlier, and stuff like that. So I mean, that's a nice analogy, isn't it? So there's tenants, landlord, and there's co-tenants.
Okay, so actually the landlord and the visiting guest, and the baby is a visiting guest in that way.
Yes.
And they can coexist without anyone affecting each other. But sometimes the landlord might have his siblings and cousins and families living with him, and that might snuff the life out of the baby, and that's when it becomes a problem, because the baby might have to be, that's like giving him quick notice before he's 9 months and saying that we can't continue to allow you here, get out. And
absolutely.
At that point, it might become problematic for the child. But really, the two people can actually the two organisms, or what do we call it now, can actually coexist. Yes, tenants can actually coexist, and without anyone affecting each other. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Alabi. We've also been able to answer some of the questions that people are asking. And thank you everyone for logging in. Dr. Alabi.
So there's a question, sorry, can I just come in?
Okay.
There's a lady that's been asking some very intelligent question. Somebody called Elizabeth Tolulope. So she asked a few questions. Can fibroid affect the baby in the womb, especially when it's small? No, we've answered that. She said pregnancy after UFE. Now, I did mention UFE. UFE is embolization, where you shrink fibroid. Now, ideally, you don't advise people to, you tend to not advise people that still want to have pregnancy to have it. But one way or the other, people have done it. And I have seen a few people gotten pregnant after UFE, and it didn't affect them anyway. But the way it usually affects is not with the pregnancy. It usually sometimes prevents people from getting pregnant. That's what UFE embolization does. And that's why you need to have a very solid discussion with your doctor before they send you for embolization, for fibroid embolization. I just think that I needed to answer that. So.
Thank you very much. I must have missed that. And I think I saw one now. If one had ovarian cyst and there are clots of blood, is this fibroid?
No, it's not. Ovarian cyst is different from fibroid.
Okay. So I think ovarian cyst will be a topic for another day on our Women Health program. So I want to say thank you very much to Dr. Alabi and everyone that has logged in. Thank you for your questions. You really made this a very interactive session. And I know that a lot of us have learned. I've also learned. So when I'm in the market, I'm hearing those gist now. I've been equipped with the right answers to also come in and educate those women so that we can all eventually help the woman's health. Because a country that is filled with healthy women is going to be a very productive one. So, Dr. Alabi, what are the things that your last thoughts to the audience? What are the things you would love the audience to part with?
Okay, so the first thing is that having fibroid is not a death sentence. That's the first thing. Now, you have to, one of the things about Nigeria is that when you make a wrong move at first, it's very difficult to correct. So before you have your fibroid treatment, make sure that you do a lot of research. In as much as fibroid can be removed, if it's not removed properly, it can cause problem as well. So you have to make sure that you sort whoever you're going to receive care from. Who are they? What is their background? Who's done surgery with them before? What kind of hospital? Is this person a gynecologist? Now, you can ask people questions. Don't worry about whether a doctor gets angry. If you ask question and a doctor gets angry, then that is not the right doctor for you. Move somewhere else. You have a right to demand answer to your questions. So fibroid is not a death sentence. Seek for somebody who knows what they're doing. Nigeria is actually a lot, contrary to what people think, the number of people that I have done fibroid surgery on that have come from either Canada, America, England, I don't want to share it, but so the people usually come and say, are you okay? You want to go to Nigeria, you're living in England, you want to go to Nigeria to remove fibroid. Yeah, because they know that we do this all the time. We remove all their fibroid, unlike in England where they will remove some and in another 2 years, they're back again. So my take-home message is that fibroid is not a death sentence. Look for a good doctor, look for a good hospital, get 2 opinions. Don't, if you think that you have gotten an opinion that you don't like, seek another opinion. If you like, seek a 3rd opinion. But don't seek too many opinions, otherwise you will get confused. I think that is important. And if fibroid is disturbing you, address it on time. Don't leave it until people are starting to ask you, madam, when are you having your baby? Before you start, because the treatment to remove it very early is totally different from the treatment to remove it later when it's a lot bigger. One is safe, one can be a bit tricky. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Alabi. Thank you, everyone, for being a part of this webinar. Thank you very much for listening all through. And just like we've established today, that nobody knows the causes of fibroid. Whoever gets to know the causes of fibroid will be a multi-billionaire in dollars. So we're going to be seeing how we can do research on that. And we also know that fibroid is not a death sentence, there are treatment options. And no matter what you've been told, if the fibroid is not ready for surgery, there are other treatment options outside surgery that will help. We also know that we can have some healthy habits that we can begin to infuse into our daily activities that could help us prevent the further growth of fibroid. We also know that whether you are in your reproductive age or you're in your menopausal age, if you have any of those symptoms of fibroid, like heavy bleeding during menstrual period, like prolonged bleeding, like clumps of blood during menstrual period, or pain during period, and if you have your tummy resulting bulging and you know that it's not food that is there is the need for us to see the doctor. Fibroid is not cancerous, but for older women, they might see the doctor on time because there could have been a mutation that could make it cancerous. Fibroid feeds on our hormones. It feeds on our hormones. So if anybody is taking an hormonal drug or maybe undergoing IV health, that might actually be food for the fibroid. We also are aware that fibroid and babies can coexist. And we really do not have to bother whether it's going to affect the cognitive abilities or the psychomotor activities of the baby. But if it becomes risky and the doctor analyzes the risk, the baby can actually be pulled out or the fibroid pulled out in the process. We are also being told to be careful where we seek help. Ask your doctor. And when the doctor is angry, Dr. Alabi is a doctor. He said, when a doctor is angry, when you're asking questions, that doctor is not for you. So for people that are always afraid of asking doctors, when you're asking your doctor a question about your health and he gets angry, please get up from that place. That doctor is not for you because he's not ready to enlighten you and he's not ready for you to get well. So this can also be something you can put in your left hand and use. So I want to thank you for every woman. Yes, he said Fibroid can cause other illnesses because it could affect our kidney, and it could also affect our blood level. And if your blood level is low, one can have heart failure. And if it compresses on the kidney, there could be kidney failure, and of course, eventual death. While there are other options apart from surgery to care for fibroid, we're being told to be careful in taking all those agbo and seeking all those people that tells you they can make your fibroid. He has told us that some special techniques that can be used to reduce the blood flow to the fibroid and, you know, make sure the fibroid becomes degenerated. But you have a choice to know, you know, eventually you own your life, and you own your life. So you have the choice to choose who you want to seek help from, and not just ask, not just depend on the essays that you have around you. So thank you, Dr. Alabi. Thank you for everyone that's logged in. Please follow us on our social media pages, wellness_care, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're going to be doing this every second Saturday of the month at the same time, 10 a.m. Just like you've seen that we didn't take so much of your time. We actually wanted to do 1 hour, and it's 11:07 now, 11:07. So we're going to log off any moment from now. We've been able to answer so many of the questions, and we're glad that you've given us this privilege for this enlightened time to create awareness on fibroid and the causes, the prevention, and other treatment options, and also to tell us that some of the things that we hear doesn't work. So thank you very much for logging on. Follow us on our social media pages. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have podcasts, and that podcast has short messages on how to enjoy who we are and how our well-being can be improved. And subscribe to this YouTube channel too, because this is going to be coming up every second Saturday of the month. We believe that the more we know, the better we are. And if the people of Nigeria are healthier, our economic capacity can also be improved. So thank you, Dr. Alabi and your crew. I know some of your doctors are here with me. I could see Dr. Olusheye Adeniji. I guess is one of your doctors. I want to say thank you to everyone. And for the wellness crew working behind, I know that you guys had to block some hackers from coming in. So I saw that. So thank you very much for not allowing them to disrupt this. And for everyone, enjoy your Saturday. For every woman out there, it's about women's health. And that's why we made sure this is done today. We know that mothers have to be healthy. Women have to be healthy. And now that we know that we can help other women and empathize with them. And for every guy that's logged in, you know, I asked my staff's husband, and I said, thank you. You were with her. If a woman will sit and lie and be in bed for 6 months and they have a daughter, how did he cope? Yes, he's a medical doctor, but it's not going to be easy for him to do all the things the woman was doing. So thank you for every man for supporting us to succeed. And on this note, we want to say thank you. Please enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.